What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Israel's Movie Reviews. And we're going to be discussing season 3 of Cobra Kai. And it's been very interesting. It's been very fun going over the last few seasons. And this review is going to give you a broader view of the Cobra Kai world. And this series continues to intrigue me. This is going to be a non-spoiler review of basically the whole season, or 10 episodes, which is currently now on Netflix, so go ahead and check that out. So let's get right into it. Cobra Kai continues its totally awesome winning streak with a third season that achieves a resounding fun and balance between triumphant and silly at times, right? A bit of a campy drama, corny, 80s movie 2.0 kind of show, right? That approach adds depth and layers to the slightly single cell organism that's called original films nowadays, right? While still capturing a glorious cinematography throughout California where this setting takes place. And you feel the spirit and you feel Mr. Miyagi and the culture behind this franchise. As we've seen with Cobra Kai's previous 2 seasons, this After the Sunset kind of approach to the Karate Kid is a perfect blend of drama, comedy, stand-up in many ways because it's really funny. And you have moments that you need to cheer. At first glance, absolutely, it can be absurd at times, especially the take of Johnny Lawrence, the way they portray him as a man out of time, the way he is. It's one thing. It's one thing to not be up to the latest technology. Like, trust me, most of my family, most of the people I know sometimes, even including myself, if I wasn't making this video on YouTube today with you guys, half the time I don't even know what I'm doing when it comes to computers, but it's another thing to basically seem like you've been frozen in ice, right? Like Steve Rogers style for 30 years. But Cobra Kai does make it work with Johnny's character as a running gag even. And it also does with Daniel's character, while being wildly obtuse, right? Like an overprotective sitcom dad constantly trying to screw up, and its consistent need of some other person or memory, which is definitely Mr. Miyagi's presence is looming in this season, along with the other seasons as well. And, Mr. Miyagi's presence in this definitely helps Danny, and sometimes it doesn't help him as well. Sometimes it could be his downfall, because sometimes he has to snap back into reality out of his stubbornness. He can be very stubborn. And going to Cobra Kai writes certain tropes like a surfboard. Knowing that cliches and over-the-top coincidences can be a good and welcome thing that you've been given as a viewer with these characters. And they want to engage in sometimes the outcomes or what you do root for, but sometimes the outcomes, they take a hard left. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it doesn't take you off of the ride. You continue to stay on this roller coaster, as so to speak, right? Cobra Kai went big with its first season, giving us a climax involving an All-Valley karate tournament and a crowned victor. Since the show is more or less clocking time at a reasonable pace, it had a lot to prove in season 2, when it basically had to portray the summer following Miguel's big win. There's no school, no fight to immediately train for. Just the lives of these characters and the fallout from Johnny's badass lessons, inadvertently turning former victims into the new bullies. And Johnny's slow but well-earned realization regarding Kreese's toxic teachings. He comes into season 2, and completely takes over. Season 2 ended with Helm's Deep of high school karate brawls. Miguel taking a huge fall off a second story landing and winding up in a coma, which was sad to see. The way they ultimately played around that, I think they did it in a great way. Johnny's son, Robbie, obviously was to blame for that. Daniel's daughter, Sam, feels responsible. Miyagi-Do's taking the heat despite being the peaceful dojo. And freaking John Kreese, what can we say about him? He swept in and he stole Johnny's torture, his torch. Basically took Johnny's students from him. And here in season 3, is all about the aftermath of the school fight. Johnny's self-hatred spiral, he's going down little by little, obviously just like anybody else would. You see Miguel's road to recovery. In this one, Kreese's ever-expanding influence. You see Miyagi-Do's redemption and their story in a more deep storyline. They navigate that in a great way. And Cobra Kai proves that good storytelling, occasionally winking writing, and a deep exploration into these 80s movie legacy characters can provide effortless entertainment. There's never a dull moment in this franchise. And I'm basically talking about this series. There's never a dull moment. There's always fun dialogue. Never seems like it doesn't fit. Of course, there's action scenes. There's a lot of sad scenes. And you do have cheesiness and campiness, but it's not on the level of the Power Rangers. You're not going to be bored at all. On top of all of this, the par of the course is with Cobra Kai is the various bully redemption arcs that this show has, which are on point. Hate bullies and the way they explore bullies and the way they take care of them in this show. We got to clap it up for that. I love the way they take it. The writers on the show definitely keep their feet on the ground. The show's secret weapon has been its ability to re-examine, in my view, seemingly single-note bad characters from its original films. And they make you empathetic towards them. They make you empathize with them. And at the very least, explain why they are the way they are. And no one treats people poorly for no reason or behaves abruptly to anyone for no reason. So everyone who joined Cobra Kai in season 1 did so far for a reason, right? When you go back, you see why they joined Cobra Kai and latched onto Johnny as a sensei for a reason. He has that bravado, he has that cliche. Not the same, now the same can be said for those who choose to stay with Cobra Kai under, the merciless rule of John Kreese, he's a top-notch trainer, but with a very sick and sadistic way of thinking. He has to manipulate you in order for you to think like him in order to succeed in his bugged out world, right? And you can tell he has some PTSD from his military days, which affect him also. I'm not saying that's an excuse, but it's something to contemplate, further along. And everyone is on a specific separate journey, which I love in this Cobra Kai. And it's always mindful of that. And it always tries to make people's choices as believable as possible. That's the most important thing. Making a story believable, making it relative. That doesn't necessarily mean that every twist and turn lands perfectly, but you're not often watching characters make terrible choices. They're very sound when it comes to judgment. But an effort is always made to make sure that you understand why they're making these certain decisions, and that everyone is fleshed out as possible. I love that. Does that mean that you'll start feeling sorry for John Kreese? I don't know. You tell me, right? Leave your comment below and let me know. But as of right now, I have no sympathy for him. Of all people, who do you feel for in this? Do you feel for Johnny? Do you feel for Danny? Miguel? Sam? Tori, Hawk. There's so many characters, so many storylines. And don't rule it out. No one remains a cardboard cutout in this series. You know, nobody is dangling and soft. No, everybody has a firm ground of what they believe in. It's almost like there's a standing no bully left behind initiative in this series. And as Daniel slowly learns to take his share of the blame for his past conflicts, his old enemies also get rounded out in kind and in style, right? From the season 3 trailer, or if right now you're watching the season 3, starting with episode 1, you can spot scenes from Daniel's trip to Japan. And in an effort to not spoil too much, I won't go into detail about his exploits, which he tries to find himself. There's this season, except to say that Cobra Kai's use of the 1980 films and its characters, sometimes super obscure ones, remains an absolute blast. And you're going to see why he goes and what's the reason for that trip. And it never leans too heavily on them. That's what I love. Or uses them as a crutch. Instead, as both Danny and Johnny examine their lives and start walking half miles in each other's shoes, they start to relate. These faces from the past swoop in ways that feel fairly organic to help provide third-party perspectives. For fans of the old films, like Danny, Johnny, the angle is, or at least them two come together, to me, was the biggest draw of watching this show in general, such as the wreckage of their stubborn feud has caused, and being invested in their reconciliation to the most part, no matter how slow it's happening, but you can tell it's happening. But Cobra Kai also spends as much time with Mariduena, Buchanan, and the rest of the young cast, like Peyton List, who plays Tori, Jacob Bertrand, Gianni DeCenzo, and more. There's a lot of great side characters that aren't really on the side. They're there, but you know, they have smaller roles, smaller parts. And it does this with legacy. It does this with elegance. And these teens struggle as they shift back and forth between the light and the dark side of growing up as a teenager. And it continues to be the show's lifeblood, I believe. The teens are growing up in a world of Cobra Kai, not Karate Kid, you know, and the landscape is more complex. This ain't 1984, around this time. It's, you know, later on in the 2000s. You know, this time, their fights, their feuds, which have now long outlasted season 1, that tournament have actual consequences now leading up to season 3, and you know, for the remainder of, let's see where it goes. But, you know, I love how Cobra Kai, as each season passed so far, it's got greedier, grimier, it's more disgusting, you know, when it comes to attitude and the way you see it. Your vision starts to change along with these seasons, while it's also still being heightened, you know. The show obviously could keep getting better. There's no, you know it's gonna keep getting better. You know that it has the capacity to continue to get better. And it's occasionally meta, which I love. It's a great experience, especially for nostalgic reasons. You know, season 3 features a lot of fallen characters and focuses on how they help themselves and each other get back up. Finally, Cobra Kai's 3rd season, to me, delivered more delight as the Valley's Dojo War comes with serious consequences, like I was stating, for grown-ups and teens alike, with hard hits, cool kicks, and an absolute mastery of tone. The tone in this, which is that of an evolved, self-aware 80s movie, I feel. Cobra Kai balances drama with sometimes utter ridiculousness. It continues to be a wonderfully dosed follow-up to the old franchise. No one necessarily needed to see these old characters again, but what a joy they are to behold. You know, you relate to these characters. And what a great exploration this continues to be into the themes of anger, forgiveness, redemption. That's what you need when in a story in general, but when you're remaking something or trying to extend something from the past, that's the way to do it. And with that being said, that's season 3 for you in a very long nutshell. Season 3 to me was my favorite thus far. And now as we get into the season 4, I hope you go ahead and really check out this season. It was awesome. You know, I gave it pretty much a 9 out of 10. So if you liked this video, please hit that like button, hit that notification bell. And if you want to see more videos from me, subscribe. Peace.